Well, we're finally back on our John Deere 2030 PTO clutch pack, and on our clutch pack we stripped it earlier and just to find out what we needed, and we had to go away and order parts. Now originally with our 10 worn PTO clutch plates here, like there's no meat left on those at all hardly. I was just thinking of putting linings on, and you can see there's quite a difference in the plates, but look, I was thinking about it and I was thinking, look, I'm just about there. So inside the clutch pack here in the piston, we have a square quad ring inside there, and the square quad ring, it seals inside of the piston here, and the John Deere part number of that is R39304. Now this is what we waited on. Normally these are 2 bob a dozen, they're everywhere, but this took about 6 weeks to get these for some reason. They'd run out, and I deal with Vanderfields in Bundy Bear in Queensland, and look, we ordered the parts and a month later they still hadn't come, and so anyway we had another talk and they put the order in again, and it all worked out in the end. And then they have a big piston sealing ring that seals around the outside here, so I wasn't going to do that because this PTO has been working correctly. And anyway, while I was ordering parts I thought, oh, I'll just see how much it is, and it's the part number for that is L28656. Now if I reach under the camera here, that's my invoice from Vanderfields. Now these little packings here in Australia are $4.45 each plus the GST, and this main plate here, the L28656, is $31. And look, I thought that was pretty cheap. I also, while I was ordering stuff, I ordered the steel rings for the high-low unit as well, and they're $20.45 each Australian. So how they compare, perhaps Brian Block, he'd be able to let us know how that compares with America. But look, I thought that was alright. I didn't think it was expensive. All the sealing rings to seal the high-low, the 2 clutches in the high-low and the PTO, cost me $98.67, and that includes $8.97 goods and services tax, which we have in Australia. So look, I'm not complaining about the parts being expensive. I don't think they are. I think that's good value. Look, the plates I ended up using were a BEPCO number, the 317-18. Now I got some Sparex ones up, and they were a really thin one, and they were sort of advertised as sprayed metal, which I wouldn't have minded, but when we got them there, they were a cardboard lining the same as this. And so I thought I'd try and get the proper the proper sprayed metal linings, but look, in Australia at the moment I just can't get them. Yeah, I was having trouble, and so what I've ended up doing, and I thought both companies, all the aftermarket companies, are actually showing the sprayed metal on their sites, but when you get them they're not. And so this is still a cardboard lining, made in USA. There you go. At least it's not bloody China. But these are quite a bit thicker, and they are a thicker plate anyway. We originally had 10 plates in the clutch pack here, and we've bought 10 of these. If a lot of these packs had 8 and 9, and some had 10, and we'll work out pack height later on. So, but what we need to do to get the show on the road is we need to compress this spring here and pop that snap ring out and get the piston out, and then we'll go and give everything a wash. It's been so long since we pulled it apart that yeah, things are all a little bit dusty and dirty. I'm just going to turn the sound gain down a little bit. I just see we just hit the red button there. Had a little red light coming on, that, and when the red light comes on, it means it might wash out a little bit. So okay, we've made this tool. Now this is the tool we use to pull our clutch packs apart. I've got Plasma Dave to draw this tool up for me, and that's all done now. It took us a little while to do it and muck around, but that's fine, no hurry. And so I will have a PDF of how to make this tool available, the bits that I like to use. It's only homemade, and as with all my videos, it's about encouraging you to have a go yourself. Have a bit of a try, give it a red hot shot. So if I turn this around so you can see it, try and line the feet up just with the edge of the spring. I'll put a bit of tension there, then I'll show you where I am. Oh, that just slipped off again. There is a special John Deere tool for this, and these little legs are adjustable. You can slide them back and forth, but I just sort of worked out on mine where I like to use it, and I just made it from there. I should have this in the vise to do this, but I've just got it in the camera here, just so I don't have to set everything up again. You can't see much there because of my shadows, but anyway. So look, all we're doing here, we're winding this handle up, a few turns, and we just need to get enough to get this circlip clear so we can take the tension off the piston. So what happens is the oil comes in the back, pushes the piston up, clamps these plates tight, and that hooks our PTO drive up. So I just need to get him off. There we go. I made this with a 5/8 rod, possibly a 1/2 inch rod would have been a bit better, but I didn't have any all thread there, so that's fine. So now we just need to wind this back off. There you go. We have the compression spring. Now, this fella here, he can at times be a bugger to get out. The tension from the steel ring on the outside can be a bit of a pain in the bum. I'll blow a bit of air up it. I probably won't be able to get enough air to get much of a movement because there's a couple of holes there, but look, we'll just give it a quick go anyway. Yeah, look, that gave us a little bit. And what I like to do now is I've got a couple of O-ring picks with little hooks on them. I'll just go in down the side there. And straight opposite do the same, and if you haven't got O-ring picks, a little welding rod bent up is good. And when we get up here, sometimes this ring gets caught in the circlip groove. So there's our PTO clutch pack sealing ring. And down here, the little rings that I was wondering whether to replace or not, the R39304, they actually feel good in this, but for $4, I think we'll just replace them. Give that a bit of a wipe up. So we'll just get a new one there and sit next to it just to... Well, look, there's very little wear in them, very close when you look at the wall thickness here. And the piston ring, we'll pop that out. Look, there's a little difference there, not a lot. The proper test for that is you slide the new piston ring down into its normal working area. Nice and gentle. And then I like to put this one there as well, line up the gaps and just see what the difference is. You don't have to do this, this is just me fiddling. Okay, so if we bring this around, line both piston gaps up together, bring them all up a little bit in the groove. And we're looking to have them nice and even all the way around. If you're not sure, without the O-rings you can just pop this in and so there you go. Can you see in there? You've got about 10 thou gap on the bottom one, and you'd have 30 thou easy on the top one. So that's where oil can slip out. I wonder, I'll try and zoom you in on that if I can. And you're looking just there. So you might have to take my word for that. The gap is around a good 20 thou or so different from one to the other. So we are getting an advantage for spending our $31 on the ring. What I need to do now, I'll shut down, I'll bring you back out here a little bit like that, and I'll go and wash everything up, clean everything, inspect the whole show, and we'll come back and we'll assemble the PTO pack, put it right together, ready to go, and we'll wrap it up in a rag until we're ready to put it back in the tractor. And that's all we can do until we're ready to move on with it. I've given everything a bit of a bath and a bit of a dry off. Now you'll see a couple of files here that weren't on the bench before. Now when these steel plates sit down here and the load comes on, and you turn your PTO on and off, they run up and down this side a little bit, and on mine there was the slightest burr there, just a little bit of a burr. So I got the file, I washed it, then I noticed the burr, so we got the file and we run up and down on the corner just to take any burr away. And look, it's feeling good now, nice and smooth, and so we had to go away and wash it once more, so that's no big deal. The next part of our process, now these are 39304s, I believe you've got to buy a packet of 2. So that's alright, we don't worry about that too much. So what we need to do is just feed this down in, and if I try and put that there, might give you a bit better view. Don't twist it, like when you're pulling it down there, make sure it's all nice and straight. That's the inside there. It should sit in there. Give it a little minute or two to go back to size. They do stretch out a little bit. Let's give this another wipe. And what I like to do now is I put a heap of grease down around that centre piece. And on the piston you'll see there's a little chamfer on the piston here that helps lead that O-ring in. So we put a little bit on there. Now make sure this piston's nice and clean in the grooves here. Ours looks okay. And find the new ring. You feel there's a real sharp edge on the old one. We put that on the piston. Then I also like to run a fair bit of grease around the bottom here, so when we get the ring down in there, it wants to slide nice and easily. Don't be scared to use grease. There's your good stuff. So you'll see the tension on the ring here. Now as you bring the ring down in, sometimes it actually gets caught in this circlet groove there. So there's a little groove just there, and as you go down it will jam in there. So it doesn't matter, there's no up or down with this piston ring. But I just try and feed him in there, then now you could use a couple of feeler gauges or something like that here, I suppose. Now that needs to go into the piston. So we know that'll be fine. We didn't hear any clicks, bangs where we broke anything yet. Okay, so we get our spring, our piston return spring. I don't believe there's a right and a wrong way to put that on. Now the spring retainer washer, we'll just give that a bit of a tidy up, and that's our snap ring for that. So we need to get our little tool up and motion again. Oh shit, I just dropped a bit. That's how you know my videos are genuine. If you ever see a Bundy Bear Shed video where I don't drop something, you know it's a ringing. I was buggering something up, but anyway, that's it. So we put our little plate at the back there again. try and keep it all square. It's a bit hard sometimes, but we wind him in. Now as we come down here, you'll notice it gets a bit tight, so we need to bring that across just so it drops over the edge of the centre, and keep it winding. And now we've got to a stage where the washers it's clicked down into the circlip groove. So we just need to line that up so we can keep going. Okay, so there we go. I've got a new light sitting over here and I'm over my right shoulder, so I'm just hoping that it's giving you a little bit more of a idea of what we're doing, but anyway, we'll see. I probably won't know how good it is till editing. And you get your trusty snap ring pliers. You can say shit then if you want. Only if you want to. And there we go. So we'll just check that that's in the groove nicely, and it is. So we can wind our tool off again. I'll probably have this tool on our website, which is Queensland Tractor Spares.com.au, and I'll probably put it in the technical section where there's a bit of other, quite a bit of Massey Ferguson stuff, but we do have it drawn up, and we're actually thinking of doing a Bundy Bear Shed website just separate for the business, so we'll just see. Okay, now that piston's down in where it should be, and to line our clutch plates and all up, we need to drop this fella down over there, and that lets us put the male splines and female splines all together. So we'll just put a bit of grease in there, and look, the grease is probably unnecessary here really. As you may or may not be aware, the PTO pack in this 2030 in these tractors are right down the bottom, so whenever you fill it all up with oil, chances are that the oil will be plenty there anyway. You know, you'll have plenty coming through. Now later on, this shaft comes through the back and sits in here. We can put the circlip on to hold it all in, but we don't need to do that yet. We can pop that on a little bit later. Now, when we look at our clutch plates here, the internal spline clutch plates, being an alloy piston there, of course we don't want to run a clutch plate on an alloy piston. It'll just all wear out quickly and it just won't end nicely. So what we like to do, or what we need to do, is put a steel plate down first, so that when the clutch plate turns, it turns on a steel plate. Now, my plates are okay. The only plate with a little mark on it is my top cover plate, and I've sanded that so there's no rough edges and it's okay. But if you have one plate that's still true, it's not dished at all, and it's just a little bit worn on one side, or it's galled a bit on one side, polish it up a bit, and there's nothing wrong at all with putting that side down against this piston, because the piston doesn't turn, it doesn't rub against each other, it'll just sit down there and away it goes. So these clutch plates, we just put one, there's a bit of oil, got a bleed in the oil gun. Now you can soak these plates in oil before you put them in, that's fine. Once again I put a little bit on, and later sometimes I'll pour a bit of oil down in over the top there. So until we get full now, we go one steel, one fibre. Now these fibre ones are fatter than the old ones, so whether we get the full 10 in remains to be seen. On the 50 series tractors, it actually has a number of plates here, but I know mine had 10, and but a lot of them didn't. They had 8 and 9 and things like that. So if our pack height gets too high, I will leave a plate out. There's nothing particularly wrong with that on a low horsepower tractor like this, because our plates are fatter now. So I think we've gone from 1.2mm, 1.4mm plates to 1.8mm. So we should gain a little bit in here in pack height. I'm just doing a test here, make sure we have plenty of pack height. And when we need pack height, we actually need the piston to be able to have a little bit of clearance here. So look, that's good. I'm not going to put that last plate in. There's no room for it really. And by just sliding this, what we're actually checking for here is that if you don't have clearance in your clutch pack here, well, your PTO will drag. And we'll just pull that circlip right up to the top edge, and you can see we've got some movement there still. But there's not enough room to do that that pack height there. And look, that's fine for this. If this was a 2130 with the extra horsepower, I'd probably go and get the thinner plates and put more in for the extra surface area. But this is going to be fine in my instance. But you suit yourself. If you get the standard plates of I think they're 1.2. I'd have to check that again. I may be wrong there. If you get the standard plates, you can get the extra one in, and it gives you. Look, it does give you extra surface area. But I know the later tractors on the same horsepower as this, they actually dropped it back to 8 and 9 and things like that. So I'm comfortable with that. That's okay. Now, I think what I may do now is, instead of putting all this together, well, look, I'll just show you while we're here. I thought I might leave the shaft out for the moment, just because it'll be easier to look after, until I get round to putting it together. That fella goes there. We have a washer here. Washer can go there. This little snap ring. Back there, and then this pulls back, and that's what holds the whole show in. When you first split the tractor, you can actually see this and pull that out and pop your plates out. I can't remember which way I did it now. And on this bush here, what it does, it's hooked to your PTO shaft. Now, your PTO shaft has a coupler here. There's a female coupler that joins the shaft that actually sits out the back of the tractor with this one, and so you can see there's a little bit of wear here where it's been moving on there. That's okay. So that sits down there, and I think I can show you what the GR is here. And this is your PTO brake band, and so when you flick the PTO lever off, this gets oil in it and it jams tight, and that stops the PTO from turning out the back. It'll just stop it suddenly for you. Then when you bring oil in to the clutch pack here, which it comes in between these two sealing rings here, when you bring oil into here, the valve automatically puts oil into there, but it lets this off. So your clutch pack locks up, that sends drive down this shaft out the back. Then when you turn your PTO off, the oil stops, the big spring in there releases your clutch pack, and then this comes on, and that stops your PTO from turning. This had no linings on it in our particular tractor. So look, that's it for the PTO clutch assembly, the clutch pack assembly. There's a lot more work to do on this tractor yet, but I'm just trying to keep the videos reasonably short and to a specific subject if we can. I don't know how I'll go with that over time, and that way you can just have a quick look at the PTO on its own without having to look at all the rest. So there you go. That's the PTO clutch pack on our John Deere 2030. Ready for assembly. We'll wrap him up in rag and we're going to find something interesting to do.